Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and my name is Mithun. We are going to discuss something about Dockerfile, basics of Dockerfile, how to write a Docker and to set up a Tomcat in a Dockerfile. So, or we would say we are trying to install the Tomcat, and with the help of Dockerfile, we will go ahead and create a container, and inside the container we're going to have a Tomcat file running. So this is what we are going to do today. So let's come down to the point. So when we talk about Docker, the main the information that we have to run, or the Tomcat or any of your information that you're going to run, it's on a Docker container. So let's say if you have to run a Linux operating system, it should be inside the container. Or if you have some programs or web applications, so this application would be running on a Docker container. And to get the Docker container, we should have an image file. Or we would say that, let's say we are trying to install a Linux operating system. So we should have an image of a Linux operating system, and then we would push it to a Docker container. So we should have an image what exactly we are trying to create. So how are we going to create a Docker image? There are two options. One, we can directly create a Docker file, or we can take it from a Docker hub. So that these are the two options available. So today we will create a Docker file. So once we have a Docker file, that's like a normal file, we're going to write some code over there, and we would say that with the help of some code, we are, we would build a Docker image, and this Docker image is going to be running on a Docker container. So this is how the platform on Docker works. So as I told you, there are two ways we can create a Docker image: pull it from a Docker hub, or or we have to make a Docker file. So while creating a Docker file, there are 9 things that we have to remember. That is a command that is called as from to pull the Docker image. So where exactly we are trying to pull? Then we should have a run, all in uppercase, to execute commands, cmd to provide the default for executing containers, and if we have an entry point, to configure a container with or that will run as an executable, WORKDIR to set a working directory, copy to copy a directory from your local machine to your Docker container, add to copy files and folders from your local machine to a Docker container, expose. This is one of the very important command that we're going to try to expose some operation ports on your Docker. Suppose if we have to open up port number 8080 or 443 or 80, so if we have to specify those ports or ports, we have to run this command expose. So it's going to expose the port. And if we have set any environment variables, that we use env. So these are the 9 things that we should remember while creating a Docker image. So once we have the Docker images set, so let's come down directly to our today's problem. That is, we have to have a Tomcat running on a CentOS operating system. This is our task for today. So how we are going to build a CentOS and on top of, or you would say Tomcat on top of CentOS. So we should have a CentOS operating system working in the first scenario. So we will pull the CentOS from a Docker hub, and to run a Tomcat we should have a prerequisites. That is, we should have a Java installed. So once we have a Java installed in our system, so this would be create a directory, that is opt tomcat. So this is the location we're going to working, we are creating a working directory. So in this particular location, we're going to download our Java alphanumerics or numeric directory, or we would download, the Tomcat packages. Usually if you get a zip or unzip, so we're going to use tar files. So we're going to download this package on opt tomcat location. We will untar it, all the numerics. So whenever we have seen that when we try to download a numerics, the package names or the folder name won't be a proper. It would be something like tomcat.0.1.3. So it will be difficult for us to understand. So in that case, we're going to rename that particular file to a Tomcat. That is a very readable file or name. And we will tell the Docker, so we have all the packages and this everything is set to go. So we will tell the Docker is running an 8080. So we would need to run the port number 8080 to run the Tomcat. Then we will go and start our services. So this is the basic step that we have to follow if we are installing a Tomcat in a CentOS operating system. So once we have the CentOS operating system ready, so let's go ahead and build our code. So to build our code, this is a problem statement, and coincide with the problem statement, what are the things we should have in creating a Dockerfile. So pull CentOS from a Docker hub, we should have a from. Install Java, we should type run, and then it should be followed with a Linux command. Pull CentOS from a Docker hub, we can use a run command again. Change work directory, so WORKDIR and plus followed with the instruction where exactly we have to download. And download packages, it can be done by add or by run. If we are writing as a run, then we will use wget and the website URL. Once we have the packages in the working directory, then we would untar it. That is again a run command. Rename the Tomcat binaries. So we will give a proper name. That's again a run command. To tell the Docker, we have to expose the port number 80. So we would use the expose command. And to start the services, we use the cmd command to start our services. So these are the steps we're going to follow. So we would directly go ahead and open our AWS. So let me log into my AWS first. Okay. So we will install our Docker in our an AWS instance. So I'm getting the EC2 instance ready. So let me just quickly check how many instances are running in my dashboard. So there is no instances running. That's good. So I will launch an instance here. That is, I would name as Docker server. That's a name I'm going to give, and I'm using a Linux operating system. With the Linux operating system, it's on a T2 micro, and the key pair I'm using already used one key pair, so I'm using the same old key pair what I have earlier used with connecting, and rest everything would be same, and I'm going to launch an instance. Okay, our instance is getting ready, so I will get back to the instances. Okay, it shows that Docker server, that is, it's under process, it's pending. So we'll just wait for a minute. Let's see, it would come from pending to running. Okay, so it have started with our EC2 instance. Let's go ahead and quickly connect. I'm connecting from the browser mode itself. Okay, so our EC2 instance is ready. I'm getting into sudo su. Okay, and let me just update my Linux operating system. So sudo yum update. So this will help me to go ahead and update my Linux operating system, that is Amazon Linux operating system, in this EC2 instance if there is any files I'm missing. Okay, we are good to go. So since we are EC2 instance is running, so the first option is we have to go ahead and install Docker. So to install Docker, so sudo yum install -y docker. This will help me to install the Docker. Okay, so it's in the process of installation. All right. So if I write docker gs, so if I write docker images, it says, you know, our daemon is docker daemon is not running. So what we have to write to start the docker daemon, so we will write this particular code here. Okay, now if we go ahead and check the docker images, you would see repository track images id created size. So as of now we haven't created any docker images yet. So ls minus ltr, so we don't have any files here. So the first option is we're going to create a Dockerfile. So vi Dockerfile, so we have the Dockerfile which is created. So I will quickly go ahead and copy a command that I've created earlier. I'm going to paste this one, and this commands I'm going to be updating on my YouTube on the description, so it will be easy for you to go through it. So we have written from CentOS latest, and so I'm going to, in the ECD directory, I'm doing this one to run command, and we're going to sed -i. I'm going to get the CentOS images and things like that. So this is the command that I'm going to use. You can also write CentOS in the correct way, so it will install. If there is any errors, then you can follow this particular command line. So once we have the CentOS ready, we will go ahead and install yum -y install Java. It will install the Java application, and once we install the Java application, we have to get our working directory to opt Tomcat. So that is created, and work directory, we'll create a make directory, and in that we will come down to the working directory. Our prompt will come down to this working directory. So I'm using a add command here. This is a location where we have the tar file, and followed with a dot. It will initiate that we are in the current directory itself. Suppose we are not in the current directory, we can, instead of dot, we can use the location. So once we have that run, we have to untar this location. So if I say that this particular HTML file or the URL, you will get it from Google itself. That is, if you type Tomcat download and Tomcat 9 software versions. So here we have the .dir file, and if we take the location, copy the link address, it's the same link that we are using. And once we have it is downloaded, it's in a tar file, so we have to untar it to tar that xvzf Apache Tomcat. So this would be ideally the name of the file. And once you untar it again, we would get a name of the application is this. So we have to move the binaries to a folder or directory. So we're going to move all the file by naming it to Tomcat, and we're going to expose the port number 80, and the command to run Tomcat or start the service, that is opt Tomcat bin, that's a location. We're going to go ahead and start a service as catalina.sh, so that will run our or start the services. So I hope you have in a right understanding. So I'll just go ahead and escape WQ and okay. So that means ls minus LTR. So we have one file, that's the file name is Docker. So we have created a Docker file, and we have updated all the information in that. Okay. Now we have to check, we have to build our Docker image or Docker image we have to build. So if we come down to our first, so we have completed the creation of Dockerfile. From Dockerfile we have to create a Docker image. So this is the Docker image that we're going to do. So to create a Docker image, I'm going to use a docker build command. So docker build -t, and this would be my Tomcat is the name of the Docker file I'm going to give, and we are in the current directory itself. So I'm going to enter. So docker build build -t my Tomcat dot, okay, sending the build contents of to Docker daemon. So it's going to go ahead and build the necessary files. So here you would see that run install Java is happening, and we are updating all the necessary files which we have to have in our image. Okay, so it says it's completed. So it's also Apache Tomcat installation, or the file is getting ready. So here you would see that opt Tomcat is created, and it has been pushed, and we have started this Catalina and removing intermediate containers. Okay, so all this are done, and successfully tagged Tomcat as my Tomcat as the latest. So ls minus LTR, if you type, we still have the Docker file, and if I say Docker images, and we have two Docker images which is created, that is for image for the CentOS and for my Tomcat. So Docker ps -a, and we would see we don't see any containers which is running right now, so there is no containers as of now. So we have reached the second step, that is creating a Docker image. So since we have the Docker image, now we have to run a Docker container. So let's quickly go to our commands. So we have done this, we have built, and we are going to create a Docker run. Okay. Okay, unfortunately it is not taking the right option, so we wanted my Tomcat to be built, and since the demo container has been already been created, I will use another name, container dash Tomcat, enter. I would say something is -1 Tomcat. So let's check this one. Okay, it shows it's created, so we have some options available. Error response daemon. Okay, so Docker images, let's see, we have another image which says Tomcat has also been seen, which we don't require right now. My Tomcat is required, so we will see Docker ps -a. We have Tomcat which is created, and status it is shows created, and we have the ports. So since these ports are running, so I would stop that Docker image running on my system. So I would use a command to stop the Docker, so which is simple: Docker stop the container name, Docker stop, and the name of the container, this is the name of the container that we are using. See, since we have the port number which is being already allocated, so it will not respond to our Tomcat. So let me go ahead and stop all the containers first. Stopping this container, let me just redo that image. Okay, Tomcat, I would say this name as container 2. Okay, Docker ps -a. We would see that the port has been associated with this Tomcat file. So we would go to the instances, we would see the IP address. And the port number is 8081. It's taking a little longer, so that means we haven't given the right security permissions. So let me go ahead to the security. So we only have TCP IP is port number 22 is open for it. So let's go ahead and open port number 80 and 81. So here, when we come here, let's go and do inbound rules. okay, and edit inbound rules. Okay, add a rule for 8080 and can be accessed from outside, and then port for 8081, and it also can be accessed from outside. So this is for our project purpose. We are updating this permissions. Okay, okay, we have added the inbound role for, however we haven't given the permission for HTTPS. So let's add that rule as well. So HTTPS and can be accessed from outside. I'll also give HTTP access also. HTTP, and this also can be accessed from outside. Let's quickly go ahead and see what is exactly we could see from our containers. Docker stop, and we will stop this container. Okay, and Docker stop see Docker images is running good, and Docker ps minus a. Let's go ahead and check that. ps minus a. Okay, come down to our instances. Let's see, the instances are running. Okay, that's good. And public IP. Okay, and port number 8081. Okay, it's still showing some access issues, so let's check that, debug that from here. So here we have the security. When we come down to security, we have, oh okay, inbound rule is still the same. Oh, okay, so we have given outbound rules, so 8080 and this one, okay, and 8081, 8081, HTTPS, HTTP. So this is we're just giving for HTTP. The purpose, so usually on a working environment we will not give access to something like this. However, just to make sure our process is working, so yes, we could see that we have the Tomcat on a container. We are able to pull that information, and you could see that it's taking all those files which is needed. So that means our Tomcat is up and running. So basically we haven't given the right permission here. That's the reason we have this conflict, or it's not popping up. So let's go ahead and check if we have Docker stop on the running container. Docker stop, and the container name is copy, and let me paste this one. Docker ps-a. Okay, so we would see that there is, the stop status or exited status, and the name of the container is docker2 demo docker2, and when we refresh this page we should not be able to see, or will not be able to connect to that. So that's the main idea. Where is instance type? Okay, IP. So we have the IP address, so port number 8081. Okay, the site cannot be reached. That means it is the Docker has stopped the container. So let's go ahead and restart the container and see. So I'm just giving a container name. Since already have the containers here, we just stop the container. So I'll just make it container 3, and let's start this one, and we would refresh this page and see if we are able to pull the Tomcat application. Yes, we are able to connect to a Tomcat. So on top of Tomcat, if we have any var files, so we can go ahead and quickly change those. Right now I don't have a var file with me, but you can copy that var file and you can use this command, and since you expose that file, it will quickly go ahead and update, and our instances or the application file will be running over here. So since I don't have any var file or a Java application right now, we will add that information in the next upcoming videos. I hope you understood what we have exactly gone through our process. We have created a Dockerfile. From a Dockerfile we built a Docker image, and the Docker image that we built, we have updated, or we started running on a Docker container. We stopped the Docker container. So each time when we create a Docker image, so I would say if it is vi Dockerfile, So we will go ahead and update this file, and what are the information what we require to perform. So once we update that information and we save it, I would say escape. So this would be Docker images. So this would be a complete different Docker image. If we have updated something, we have to rename or give another alternate number, because this image will only have the Tomcat. So if we, every time when we give that image name, so it would be a different containers it's going to work. So that's how the Docker Hub and the Docker images work. So I hope you understood what we are trying to access today, and we are able to achieve a Docker container with the Tomcat and CentOS installed in it. I would say CentOS on top of in CentOS on top of Tomcat container. So thanks for watching the video, and if you like the video, please share and subscribe my channel. You have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.